Welcome back everyone. This is Literary Goa, the program where we look at books and authors from Goa. Today with me, we have a lot of books here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the author or co-author or editor of all of them is Clifford W. De Silva. Clifford W. De Silva. Clifford, over to you. We know you run the Goa Institute of Counselling in Navili. How did you get into counseling?
Frederick, first of all, thank you very much for this. How I got into counseling, I've always wanted to be a psychologist. That's because my sister once told me our father is a very good psychologist. I didn't know what it meant, but that's what I wanted to be. How I got into counseling is very interesting because when I was a Jesuit for some time, and when we went for our Marathi year, we had to learn Marathi for a full year. Tony De Mello was our rector, and we had group dynamics in those days very popular, and in that there were certain things that I said that made me stand out for him. And he said, "You have something very special, and you have a lot of talent for counseling." Now, I always believed I had that, but it was never recognized. So naturally, we two became very good friends. The following year, Tony came to Denobli and to set up Sadhana Institute.
Tony De Mello is a chapter in himself. We'll come to that.
Yeah, okay. So, but that's how I got into counseling. Basically, the interest was there. We learned from him. It's not like I had any formal course, but we just got it from, seeing him perform with us. And then we...
So your not your first book, but your book, which is your book, written by you, entirely by you, with this very catchy title, Not a Serpent, Not a Rope. What is it then? Tell us about this book.
Yeah, that's a book about enlightenment. See, everybody seeks enlightenment, and I'm one of those who believes that enlightenment should not be, one should not tell you how to get enlightenment. It is something that everybody can get. If it's counseling, I will tell you. If it's psychology, I will tell you. But enlightenment is, everybody is entitled to it, and everybody will find it. So this book is only, I've used the stories, telling you that stories are a way to get enlightenment, because the story stays in your mind and it may one day explode. So you may get it, you may not get it, but keep reading stories and think about them. Don't tell the morals.
I liked your stories without the morals. Can you, and they are very short and very catchy, maybe read one for us and just give the reader a hint of what your book contains.
Okay. Let's take the shorter the better, right? We'll take the Jade Apprentice. Somewhere in China, a young man went to a famous jade master and asked to become his apprentice. The master did not deem him fit, but the boy asked so earnestly and persistently that the master at last agreed on one condition: he should not complain. The boy eagerly agreed, but had no idea what he was letting himself in for. On the first day, the master gave the boy a piece of jade and told him to hold it. That was it. All day, that was all the boy was required to do. The next day, it was the same story. Every day, it was the same thing. After a month, the boy decided that it was more than he could bear. He decided that morning to tell the master that he was right about him, that he was not fit to become a jade master. With his heart full of anguish, he received the jade stone, and just as he was about to complain to the master, he could not help blurting out, "This is not the same stone." The master smiled a benign smile and said, "You are learning."
So your stories leave one really guessing and leave the onus on the reader to make the most of it.
You understand it in any way. I hate it when people tell a story and then tell the moral. They're not exercising your intellect at all. And it's like they're underestimating your intellect. So I like to tell a story and ask the class. If I'm in the class, I ask them, you tell me what you got from this story. There's no right answer.
Which takes us to the next point, which is Anthony De Mello, of course. Your senior, your friend, your guru. A big name of in the Jesuit world in India and abroad, one who was famous for his retreats. You edited this book. Your role is also acknowledged on the cover, edited by Clifford W. De Silva. More than the book, I want to know your story, your equation with Tony. How did you get to know him? What was your experience of the man? And first, maybe start by telling us what is his significance. Although he's from Goa originally, very few of us may have heard of him.
Yeah, he was originally from Goa, and the book tells this whole story about his grandfather. In fact, I think, if I remember right, his grandfather was supposed to become a Jesuit, had gone to join, but then since his father died, he came off and had to run the family business. So anyway, his grandson became a Jesuit and made up for him, I guess.
And a very prominent
yes,
priest.
very prominent. Tony actually shot to fame very early in his career because he had gone to America to learn counseling and so on. Then he got into these retreats, the long retreat. He was very good at that. Even in 71, when I went to Bombay, he used to go to Hong Kong or I think Singapore, mostly Hong Kong, and give retreats there. Sometimes long retreats, sometimes just 8-day retreat. But he was known for that. Yeah. Then we went for this Vipassana course together. He had got all of us youngsters to come with him. This was in 72, I think, and or maybe 73. But that one, we had S.N. Goenka, the Vipassana guy. That one retreat was enough. I think there Tony got these ideas of enlightenment, and I remember he used to himself talk about it, and then he would tell us that you can contemplate on anything. It could just be a leaf even, and through that you would get enlightenment. And so awareness was a very strong thing with him. And from there, I think, in fact, his book is called, the most famous book, and even his talk series is Awareness.
Quite a few of his books which I picked up.
Yeah. These are all, Sadhana was his first book.
Yeah.
Excellent, all excellent. These are all short stories, Prayer of the Frog and all.
Yeah, oops, this is
okay,
yours.
Mine came in.
Yeah.
Right. And of course, Call to Love, which I consider I like that book best.
But of course, to be honest, in those days, his preachings were considered controversial by some.
Not in those days. They became controversial about 5 or 10 years after his death, which was a strange thing. I think the wheels of the Vatican, they grind a little slow, but they grind exceedingly fine, right? So I think then they began to see certain flaws in his thinking and all. But anyway, his books are out now, but with a disclaimer.
I see.
That the opinions of this person are not necessarily the opinions of the Catholic Church.
No? Yeah, because of his crossover between religions and things like that. So he was popular with his retreats even in the US, no?
Mainly in the US. In fact, they don't know about him much here. But Tony de Mello Institute, I used to have a certificate, Anthony de Mello Institute. It was recognized abroad, so to speak, but not here. They would want to know more about it. Yeah, he's not that much known here.
So while we were outside, of course, that's a fascinating story. So I mean, before we wind up about this book, it was written by his brother, Bill de Mello.
By his brother.
And you edited it.
Yeah, I met him over I'd seen his, website, and I wrote to him saying that I was a good friend of Tony's, and he never got that letter. So just about 2 years before we wrote this book, I wrote again, and he said, I never got that letter before. And then we started corresponding. He told me he had this book in mind. So I told him I can help him a lot because Bill had never met his brother. Bill was 11 years old when he's...
never met in his life?
No, he met like that, but never lived with him. Because Tony wanted to join, and his mother said, no, you're the only boy. You cannot become a priest. And... then he got the news that his mother was expecting. So he said, I will pray that it is a boy.
What a story.
So when he was 14, this boy was born, Bill. So at 15, he joined. So Bill hardly knew his brother.
So you filled in the gaps from...
Yes, all those gaps. He got a lot of material from various people who knew Tony, which is, I was there till 79.
And Tony was a mentor for you, in a way?
Who?
Tony was a mentor for you?
Oh, very much. Very much. Like with this book, you'll see this latest one of mine dedicated to Tony indirectly.
Inspiring character?
Very, very, very. See, he was this, like all great people, he was a very simple person. He had no airs about him, but he had a clarity of thought and the ability to express it. Some of the things you'll hear Krishnamurti saying, listen to Tony saying the same thing. He had a gift for words. He had a way of putting something that made you sit up and take notice. Yeah.
Cliff, you're a man of many stories. Just before we were talking outside, you told us about your involvement with the Catholic Charismatic Renewal in India. And since CCR TV has a link there, I was just wondering that it's slightly off the topic of books, but maybe you could narrate that.
No, we used to have when I was
So
there
you were
for the
saying that
Marathi.
you were involved with this from its early days, in a way.
I was involved and then I was out of it.
Yeah.
It's not so much I was involved. The interesting thing is that this all started in a intercessory prayer meeting that we used to have. In those days, we didn't have these, Charismatic Renewal hadn't started. So we used to have intercessory prayer meeting once a week. And Tony DeMello was with us. At that time, one of us prayed. We used to pray out loud. And he said, Lord, give us the gift of tongues. Now, this is something we just read about. But there was a little bit about Charismatic Renewal. They used to be called Catholic Pentecostals at that time. And there was a book that had come out, Catholic Pentecostals.
71.
Before, this was 71. So before that, already the Catholic Pentecostals were out. They were known. So Tony said, what made you, after the meeting, he said, what made you make that prayer? He said, I don't know, I just prayed it. He said, Tony said, I opened the Bible at random and I got that page about gift of tongues. The next day or the day after that, Minu engineer, he had just come from America, Minu and Luthmari Maria, engineer. He called and he said, asked something, and Tony said, but it's no connection. Apparently it was wrong person he called. But since he said something about Catholic Pentecostals, Tony asked him more. And he said he had just come from America and he was interested in stuff like this and all. So Fio Mascarenhas, who was Father Fio, who was still very recently the international head. He and there was a young scholastic with us then called, what was he? Vegas, Riker, Pramod Riker. They both went and met Minu engineer and Luz Maria engineer. And they received the gift of tongues. They were prayed over, laying of hands. And then they came to us. Then Luz Maria and Minu came to Vinayalaya where we were. And so you could say we were the first charismatic group. So the credit, it's amazing that Tony was responsible there as well. Then Fio Mascarenhas went on further with this. But when we went to Denobli, our group started the Denobli group. Then I went to the camp group and started Pune camp. And it took off from there.
Fascinating story. I think at some level all these things need to be documented and noted. So, but we have another book here which also has a connection with Francisco and Noemia, whom some of us would obviously know.
Yeah, actually, Noemia is, as you know, she started the Daily Flash. Very, very, both she and her husband Francisco, they're very, pro-church and doing things for the church and all that. And on one Laity Sunday, we had a program in Navani, and our bishop, our cardinal-elect, Philip Neri.
This is now 19th?
No. This is not so long ago. This maybe 2016. Okay. So it was maybe 2015, September. Bishop quoted one... he just made a quote. It's a small little doggerel, you could say. Mr. Catholic went to church. He never missed a Sunday. But when he died, he went to hell for what he did on Monday. So I said, we've got to write this book and we call it, What Do You Do on Mondays?
I see.
Because Sundays, we're all Sunday Catholics. What do you do on Monday is important. So we wrote this book on basically Christian life, how a Christian should live. And then we stress a lot over the lay vocation, and like everybody has a vocation in the church. We think it's only the priests or these, secular institutes and so on, or the nuns. But no, every Christian has a vocation. That's the lay vocation. Do the same command. Go out and preach the gospel. But we do it in the world. It's difficult. We do it in church. The priest is doing for the church. For the people, it's like preaching to the choir, right? But we have to be an example outside where there are people who are not going to follow our values and so on. So that's the challenge. That's in short.
Very interesting. Yeah. The story of the book is sometimes as fascinating.
Yes, how it originated.
Diaries of the Heart. Of course.
Yeah, this is not yet out.
Father Alban, we
Yeah.
co-authored.
Father
with
Alban, who passed away 2 years ago.
I know him very well. I know him as a young student in Brito, so all this is all connected in some way.
He was in charge of the
70s,
boarding.
we are
Yes.
talking about 70,
Yes,
79.
yes. Yeah, that's right. He was posted there.
Tell us the story of this book.
This book actually, as I told you, we got into counseling. Alban and I, he's 1 year junior to me. And
You didn't tell me how you got into counseling or when
just
exactly.
basically with Tony, no? With
Yeah.
Tony. So then after that, I did my BA in psychology. But we were always looking out for ways to, in college, they don't teach you counseling. So we were looking out ways, within the society, I had that advantage. We would meet people who were counselors, we would experience counseling, we knew how it's supposed to be done. Then we would read the books and try and we'd work it out, how to get the theory into practice and so on. So Alban had attended a couple of courses with Father Philip Terrasa, who was a person-centered therapist.
Where?
In Bombay. Yeah. Whereas I was more or less a bit of a maverick guy. I'd find out things and do it on my own. So this Diaries of the Heart is actually, it's the experiences that we have had, not just he and I, but any counselor, and the experiences of counselees. So it's not only our clients. But what we've done is we've not mentioned a single name here because it has to be confidential. So everything would just be client number 1 or some kind of a code name. But this is basically explaining person-centered therapy and giving the experiences of people. And the follow-up book to this, unfortunately, Alban is not there, but I'm already writing the follow-up, and this Diaries of the Heart, the workbook, so that people are able to actually don't have to attend a course, but it will be more practical than the theory books that you get.
And how does the Goa Institute of Counselling function? I mean, it's your organization, but...
Two things. One is we also offer personal counseling to people, but we offer courses in counseling for anyone. And very often people who have done their post-graduation even, they're not really like any college. When you come on
not
on the
market
job, you don't know how to do the job really. So we give them hands-on training, very practical training.
And you do online also counseling? That's something new?
Yes, now we have to do online counseling. I never liked it.
Multiple languages?
I do it in English, a little bit of Hindi. Marathi, that was the year.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty good in Marathi. But we have a team. So we got I've got students who have studied with me from Karnataka. So in Karnataka, there are 3 languages. There's the Kurg language, there's Tulu, and there's Kannada.
Yeah.
So, and then we've got Malayalis also. So we've got Malayalam. And we've got one who's very good in French. So we can offer it. In fact, she is offering free counseling to people in Morocco.
Wow, see.
Yeah, in French. Yeah. So that's nice. It's exciting. And it's a chance to give back to society also. Because after the COVID, the lockdown and all, it was terrible. So that people are still feeling the effects.
And moving to this, the Beginner's Handbook for Resource Persons.
And that is Alban's book entirely. I did the editing only.
Yeah.
And then he wanted it illustrated. So by the time we got all this, St. Paul's, the new editor had come and he said he rejected it. So finally we got it from Gujarat Sahitya Prakash, thankfully. Yeah.
Cliff, tell me one thing. What is your feeling about the field of counseling in Goa today? What is lacking? What can be done to improve it?
Actually, Goa has come a long way. Huh? When I started, I wanted to be a counselor. There was just no scope. Nobody would come to a counselor. Now with every school getting a counselor at least twice a week, once a week or something, at least the concept of counseling is not so negative. Yeah. People go, we have got 3 institutes that offer post-graduation in counseling or wellness, as the case may be. And that's very good. That's very good. It's just that they maybe need a little bit more practical training. In any college, unless the professors are actually hands-on counselors, it's difficult, no? So they're doing the best they can. But anything, take engineering, take anything, from college to work,
there is a huge
gap. So I'm trying to bridge that gap. just encouraging people to do that. But also we offer a lot of courses for like the general public. You don't have to be a counselor to do a course with me. Like, how do you face everyday problems in life? Everybody has a pesky work colleague. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with people who, how do you deal with it when you keep losing your temper? Or you're not getting, they're constantly bickering with your spouse. I have general programs like that. We can sometimes have group counseling, what is called basic encounter group. Carl Rogers, just come and talk. It's not, you won't understand that counseling is taking place, but change takes place. Sometimes a group is very, very helpful. A group is very useful. I use the group to bring about change. It's very fast.
Finally, what books next? Any plans, any dreams? What would you like to do?
I just think write more books and make them available to people at a low cost, because the books from abroad, now you take a person-centered therapy book. I was lucky enough, Brian Thorne, who's a world-famous author, has written the foreword to this book. Would you believe it? I just wrote to him and asked him, would he do it? And he said yes. So, but you see, those books, the ones in England and all, they're all £20 there. Imagine if they have to come here.
True.
And what is going to be the market for it here? So maybe that's why this thing is more like a book for lay people. This Diaries of the Heart is more like a book for lay people. So they get an idea of it. Then I'm going to have the workbook. My next book will be the PCT selfie,
PCT meaning?
PCT, person-centered therapy.
Okay.
Selfie. So how you can work it with yourself. You got to use modern terms, right? Just make it more available. There are so many new things like, just recently I'm getting involved with solution-focused brief therapy. So exciting. But there's another one called clean language. So I'm diversifying, always learning, always doing something new, bringing it. Something like you actually, Frederick.
No, not at all. But one story you told me which I really liked, that is your Belgium story, Belgium Goan story.
Which one?
Of growing up in Belgium as a Goan.
Yeah, I think you wanted a book on the same lines as Bomaikar, no?
No, that part, of course. I never get enough as many books as I want, but that's fine. But you were telling us about the Goan life there, how Belgium was the center of
Belgium, yeah. People who have been brought up in Belgium, especially St. Paul's and all, for them Belgium is the center of the universe. Okay?
Not of the world. Yeah.
Yes, center of the universe. Any Belgium person you meet, and if they went to St. Paul's, you want to know what house they were and all.
It's a very close-knit community. Close-knit community.
Very close-knit. Everybody knew everybody. Everybody knew everybody. Everybody minded everybody else's business. You get these stories of those of people who grew up in the 50s and all. We went out and we hurt our knees and nobody did anything. Nobody bothered about giving you anti-tetanus shot. That is exactly us. Our greatest idea of fun was to hire a cycle or borrow a cycle and go to Nanawadi, which was a little bit out of Belgaum, and steal sugarcane and come. And of course, everybody got a bit of it, because the idea was you could buy it for 10 paise, we could buy that sugarcane, whole stick, okay? But it was the thrill of doing that and then sharing it.
But a lot of these ex-Belgaumites are all over the place today. I believe you'll also have a St. Paul's alumni active in Goa and things like that.
But Belgaum people were very famous.
They've done well for themselves.
Very well. And hockey, they excelled in hockey. Later we had one Father Pat de Lima, who was from Pune, but he brought up hockey again in Belgaum. Tremendous. I think they played for the Kenya team. There was this guy, Pereira, I don't know what's his name. Something Pereira was the captain of the Canadian team. Yeah, his father is a Belgaum guy.
I see.
So, even if you got a remote connection with Belgaum, everybody is very proud of it. I think you boast about the fact that your mother was in Belgaum, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was. We heard a lot of Belgaum stories.
Lots of Belgaum stories.
Very interesting.
The convent and the girls' school and boys' school were separate.
Yeah.
But
close by.
Yeah,
across the road or something.
Almost adjacent. They were adjacent, just the road
very
between
interesting,
us.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
But I think all these stories kind of fill up the Goan jigsaw and tell us who we are, where we are coming from, how we are connected to each other. And the 6 degrees of separation are hardly there in
it becomes context.
1 or 2 at the most.
Yeah.
Fascinating, Cliff. Thank you so much for all your time, for all the books, for all the writing. Yeah, I enjoy talking to authors because I learn so much from you all guys, and counseling is a totally new field. I'm totally innocent of it. Thanks so much, Cliff.
Yeah.
And really great meeting you. Keep up the writing, keep up the good work. Thanks.
Thanks.